Well, hey everybody, this is D-Dog, Dave Raw for Dynamic Rainmakers, my currying company based out of Colorado Springs, doing a Friday night run, do nightly, weeknightly runs, veterinarian route, and it takes me all over Colorado Springs area. Right now, this is my primary courier work. And I have a regular day job, and I do this on the side right now. In the past, I was doing light freight and other medical courier work across the entire state of Colorado. But now I'm doing a 9-to-5 job. That's kind of hard to do. So this business is really easy to get into. You just got to go out on Google and search for things like courier companies near me. Give them a call, see if some of them even have a website that'll have an application on it. Things like that. Also, you can check into a group called cbdriver.com. That will get you listed. It's a free resource. And actually, that's how I got this route. They contacted me because they saw that I was in this area and they needed people in this area, and they contacted me to come in. So be sure to like and subscribe and share this. I want to get as many people as possible watching this. Hopefully I give some decent information to help you in your courier career if you want to get into this. Tonight I want to cover issues with dispatchers. When you do a route like this, you have a dispatcher assigned to you, and their primary job is to, of course, keep you informed if anything happens, there's an addition on the route or anything. And they also help you check in when you're done with your route. Now what happens is, in this particular route I'm on, the samples all go up to Denver from Colorado Springs, and there's a primary transfer person that collects all the samples from all the routes and takes them up. Well, one of the things we have to do on this application is to make sure that when we're done, we get this little message back that says you have to verify that you're not in Denver, because we don't go up there. So you call the dispatcher, and they need to answer, and they give you a code, and you go through the application, and it counts out all the stuff you got, and that's the end of your route. Well, one of the problems I've been experiencing for the past couple nights is the dispatcher is not answering. They're either out doing something, they're shopping, they're with their kid, they're out doing something, I don't know. But anyway, this is not good when you have something like this happen. But what's vital to keep this type of stuff good for you is that you have a good rapport with your dispatcher, and what you end up having to do sometimes is actually submit numbers in a text saying, how many total samples you collected, how many of each category. In our case, we just have 3 categories. We have samples, jars, and x-rays. Now, to this point in time, I haven't seen any x-rays yet, so I don't think I'm going to get those, but it could happen, I guess. And you give a count for each one of those, and a total quantity of overall, and you give your route number and the date. And it's their responsibility at that point to put those numbers in for you and close your application out on their end for the night. So this is really important because I've discovered that there's a mismatch sometimes between each veterinarian clinic when they do a total count of what they're going to be sending out, how many they're going to be sending out, or they add something or whatever. Like tonight I got to a location, actually my very first stop, and there were 3 samples in the little pickup bin, but one of them was not in a special type of little Ziploc they put them in with the paperwork. And one of the vet techs told me that there's going to be a rogue urine sample in there, don't take it. And what usually happens in that case is that a sample has been taken, but the owner of the animal decides not to pay for it, or they don't want it, or whatever, because it's an extra cost for them. And that may or may not be reflected on the notes that are sent in to the actual main drop point up in Denver. So what I have 2 things that I do, well actually several things I do. I have one of those little tally counters. It's a mechanical thing that you click on, and for every sample I have, regardless if it's a jar or a sample in a vial, I click it for that. And then when I get back to the Jeep, I put down how many samples and how many jars and the name of the place I picked them up from. And I keep a running count of this and make sure that my clicker and what I have written down is matching. And then at the end of the night, I have to count out the samples individually before I put them in a larger bag. And I can refer to my little clicker thing, and it says, okay, well, you have 32 samples overall, and then if I count out that many that I tossed into the bag, okay, it's all good. So you gotta keep attention to detail on these things, because sometimes things get off. And what happens in the Denver office is they do a quality control count of how many are in the bag, and they compare it to what's on the lists and everything else. I really don't know how many are supposed to be picked up at each location. I know it's on the system, but I don't have access to that information until later in the evening when I actually run it. What it does is it compares how many I entered, and then how many it actually had on the pickup count. So you really need to pay a lot of attention to this, because people get upset and things get out of whack, and all sorts of things can happen. There's been a couple nights where there have been mismatches, and we have to go through it. There is supposed to be an actual audit that's done when I transfer stuff over to the guy that does all the grouping of everything together. But he doesn't do that. He's in too big of a hurry. He has his own routes. He has his own things he needs to do beyond what I'm doing. And he just grabs a bag. I tell him, okay, there's 32 or whatever in there. How many jars? How many vial samples? But I break it out on the bag. I write it down on the bag with a permanent marker, one of those magic marker things, you know. And hopefully everything's correct. So that's really what goes on with a lot of this stuff. You go the same route basically every night. Right now I'm only doing 12 pickups tonight. That's my usual base, is 12. I can have up to 15 samples, but usually not any more than that. Or I mean 15 stops overall. So I can have anywhere from, it seems like usually between, I would say 28 has just been my lowest so far, and 62 or so has been my highest overall count. That's a lot of samples. But anyway, that's the usual amount I have night to night. Then I go home, after everything's all counted out. But like I said, the main things that really slows me down is waiting for a release. And that's where you gotta just text in stuff to your dispatcher and let them know what's going on. And usually acknowledge it afterwards so you can go home. Really, we're not supposed to turn off the application until we're done with all this verification stuff, but because of the things that happen in this type of work, it just happens, and you can't wait all night for them to pick up the phone, which happens. So those are some of the things that happen with the sample stuff. Right now I'm on my way down to the furthest stop in Fountain, Colorado from Colorado Springs, and the weather is good, the traffic is good. So I'm pretty happy in the day so far. Yesterday I got really, really tired, but that was just the way it is. When you're doing this beyond your regular 9-to-5 job, it can be kind of taxing sometimes. So I hope you all have a good weekend, because I don't do this route on the weekends. I do other things on the weekends. So I'll be talking to y'all later, and see you then. Hey, be sure to like, subscribe, share. Please leave questions in the comments. Please, please, please. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.